I don't know what to title this, so I don't know how to get started almost. And I don't feel like setting up the tripod and sitting there and doing whatever. And my arm's gonna get tired from holding this, and it's not gonna be a good video, and that's okay. So there's a specific incident that sparked this, and this goes hand in hand with the vlog. There's like 14 minutes of me talking about how, and maybe I'll do it again. I don't know. I should probably re-record that bit, just to make it shorter. But of a dog that got off leash and bit Ren, like 5 times. Ren seems okay. Didn't break skin that we could see. The spots that were they were like sort of the touch, whatever. I don't want to recap the whole thing. I don't know. I can't get comfortable in here, so that's the thing. Oh, there we go. I was actually voice noting a friend about how I hate this community and I hate this city, and I'm just so frustrated by stuff that I'm going to tell you about right now. But I was sending a voice note to him when this thing happened, and it's just ridiculous. So this conversation is more about just like fake community, and how I don't think it serves anybody well. And I don't think it's a problem with the internet or like being online. I think, again, those are tools, and people use tools in different ways. And you know, as as Black Mirror will show you in some of those in the first 2 seasons, you know, like how it's just. I mean, like anything, technology is a tool, and it can reveal people's true nature when they are faced with certain choices in how to use said tools. So, man, I'm gonna have to do that a lot, like switch hands and stuff. I don't want to, but my arms like get tired. Okay, so basically, what started this off is that last night there's a Facebook group for the community that Rebecca lives in, and there's just like it's just like a Facebook group. You have to be like vetted in order to get into the group, which is an interesting thing too. They like ask for your address and stuff, and it's been so long since I tried to get into the group that I don't even remember all the questions. But one of them was your address, and like. Rebecca would just tell me things often, like, oh, there's this community event, or there's this thing happening, or it's like, oh, people were complaining about this, or there's these cats that are whatever, and like, sometimes it just ends up being like gossipy, and sometimes it ends up being like, oh, there's like this fun event, or there's like something happening in the community, there's all this vandalism, like people are talking about it, and so it's useful information, but it runs, you know, through a bunch of different types of communications and whatever. I'm here often enough that I was like, you know, instead of her telling me all the time like this stuff, like maybe I can just get in the group. And so I had mentioned this is like a year ago or so, that I had tried to get into the group. They're like, oh, like I'm here like half the time, like I whatever, like I'm at my partner's place, I sleep over there often, whatever. And this is the address, I guess. And I was not permitted in the group. So anyway, yeah. But last night, somebody had posted in the group, as I was told, they had posted a picture in the group of a vehicle, and that vehicle had a swastika in it, and it had an N-word written on it. It had the N-word written on it, at least twice. That picture only showed like the hood of the vehicle, and it looked like it looks like it was half like swiped away, but you could easily read what it said, the visual symbol as well as the words. And yeah, someone posted this picture, and it had rained actually. Like it was like a hard downpour for a while after that. So like it was weird because like by the time the picture was in the group, it was already raining, so I don't know how long they held on to that picture before they submitted it or whatever, how that worked. But anyway, So in the group, this person had posted this picture and said like, hey, this is on here, like choosing to leave it on there because maybe you think it's funny or something, like just makes you complicit with the message, basically is what it was saying. I don't know what other inside info they had with like the details of like how long it was on there for, if they saw someone do it, if the owners were laughing at it, or I don't know. But as it developed, the owner of the vehicle ended up commenting and saying, "This is my vehicle. My teenage son's been driving it. Oh, we all know teenagers are oblivious." And then they started to get upset at the poster, saying like, "Or you're saying that we did this on purpose, or we left it on purpose?" And they said like, "What was it? Oh, just remember that when someone points a finger, then three more point back at them." And then there were other people coming to their defense and just saying like, "Why would this poster post this thing on here and whatever?" And it's really interesting. As I mentioned in the vlog, I don't know, I should just leave that whole 14 minutes up, but it's just like, I feel like I can say it more concisely, but I don't know. It becomes an attention span thing. So anyway, color. I was talking about color. I'm talking about race and whatever. And I just feel like Rebecca had told me like a week or two back about how people in this same group were complaining about a vehicle because the vehicle looked suspicious. It has like this green and black paint job. To me, honestly, it looks like straight out of a video game. It looks like what some cars would look like if they were like in a derby, or like they're like, it's a really rough paint job. Like it's rough, like it's like homemade. It looks like, I don't know, the green and black together, like the black almost, it looks like it's like the equivalent of being bruised. I don't know, and I've seen that car out and about. It's a very distinct vehicle. I also saw a black woman driving the car. And people in this community were complaining about this vehicle and how like it's suspicious and does it even belong in this neighborhood? And again, coincidentally or not, it's a person of color. It's a black person who owns the vehicle, and other people apparently came to the defense of them and being like, they're a student. They rent a suite in this community. They live here. Yes. What the hell's the problem? And the only reason I bring that up is because this post about this vehicle. So like I mentioned, the owner of the vehicle was like, "Oh, we all know teenagers are oblivious and whatever," and they just started like pointing the finger back at the poster, and then other people came to their aid and were like taking shots at the poster, being like, "Why would you even post this? What is the goal here?" and whatever else. Why didn't you just be direct and go do something about it? And it's like, what are they supposed to do? Go and clean it off themselves? I wouldn't touch another person's car. I might go and like, if I were bold enough, like to knock on their door or like whatever and like tell them like, "Hey, like I don't know if this is your vehicle, or like I don't know, but just letting you know there's the stuff on there, and you can do something about that. I don't know, like I don't know if you know about it. Whatever, that's it." I don't know if they did that or not. Who knows, right? But then people are just making assumptions that they didn't do that, and it just became this thing of like, man, like I'm not going to engage in this conversation. And Rebecca didn't engage either, but it was just like seeing it unfold so quickly, of more people being in support of this. Like, well, yeah, like I wouldn't see it if it was on my car. Like I wouldn't notice it at all. And it's like, just if you were that oblivious, you shouldn't be driving a car. Like if you're that oblivious, maybe it's not the teenager who's oblivious, right? Like maybe their friends thought it was funny. Especially because the person responding, saying this is my vehicle, is very white. So I could make assumptions, which you're not supposed to do. Like I would assume that their teenager is biological. I assume that they're white as well. Maybe I don't know if if they're the mixed race or whatever, biracial. I have no idea. I don't know what the other person who helped create this child. Maybe they're adopted. I have no idea. But they didn't say anything about being offended by it. They didn't say anything about like, oh wow, like I didn't know that was on my vehicle. They didn't say like that's no good, like holy crap, like whatever, like that's not funny. If someone did that, we'll clean it off. Like no, it was immediate defensiveness, and it was just like the lady doth protest too much is what it was like, and it was like you just immediately got defensive and pointed the finger back rather than being like, oh, we didn't see it. Like it was just like you're insinuating that we did this and we left it there, and it's like, okay, I don't think that's what the poster said, not the way that I read it, but the thing is that if you did leave it because you thought it was funny, whoever the you is, the driver or whatever, they were saying like that's my vehicle, but my teenage son drives it, and it's like what if that's the thing. Okay, so I'm assuming that they're white, and so it's like okay, well why would someone write that on your vehicle? Did they get it confused with the black family that lives across the street? I don't think so. So it's like why did they do that? Why would they do that there? Like I just it didn't make sense because it seemed more silly than it was like a very purposeful and directed hate crime, put it that way. It wasn't permanent, it was like a dusty, dirty vehicle, and it looked like they just did it with their hands, just like in the dust, right? Like when people say wash me, that kind of thing. Which also can damage the paint of the vehicle though. Like anyway. But yeah, so they I don't know, is this a story time or is this a conversation? I don't know. I'll figure it out later. But anyway, they I keep wanting to say the poster, but it's like the responder. The person, whatever, they said it was their vehicle. And again, it was just like defensiveness. And man, I lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere. But like, yeah, people had just like turned on the poster. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, what are you doing? And then I woke up this morning and I kind of wanted to see how things developed because I'm all about the tea. But it was upsetting. Like, I don't know, that's the thing. It was upsetting to me, too, to be like, I don't live in this community, but I frequent this community. I'm a person of color. That feels like a direct threat to me, too. Oh, that's what I was saying. If they thought it was funny or something, I don't know if the kid thought it was funny, too, and they left it up there on purpose. I don't know. There's too many variables. There's too many things where you don't know how... I don't even know how upset to get because I don't know what happened, really. So... Anyway, but it's frustrating that was the response, that this community was in defense for the most part. There were a couple people that were like, that's dumb, like that's stupid, people thought that was funny, or can't believe that people are doing that in our community. And again, it wasn't like vandalism in the sense of like permanent damage. So that's why I'm more apt to think like, oh, maybe they were like friends of the kid that thought that would be something funny. I'm like, okay, but that's not funny. And there needs to be a conversation about that and education about that. And it sure as hell doesn't look like it's going to come from the parent because the parent was immediately defensive. They didn't seem bothered by the message at all. And again, there are more people of color in this community than just myself, albeit there's not very many. And the few that are there, I guess they're getting complained about because their vehicles aren't fancy enough for the community. So then they have to, whatever. The thing was, post was gone this morning. They deleted it. I don't know who they is. I don't know if it was the poster or if the owner of the vehicle that decided. And that's the other thing. Why would you even, instead of being embarrassed, they were like trying, and they successfully deflected anything by being defensive and putting it back on the poster for telling people in the community that this was a thing that happened. But the post was gone, so I don't know if it was the poster or if it was... a complaint, and then the community took that post down, like the admins or whatever, took it down. But anyway, all that intro to say, this is why I hate communities like this. I hate, like, it's just fake. It's just a fake community of like, oh, let's all be friends and we're all together and we're in this together and we should look out for each other. No, that's not what it is. I'm sure there are some people who do that. But to have this, like... Again, you've got Confederate flags on this street that I have seen with my eyes and not just passing through. Like, it's an incredibly white and an incredibly conservative community. So I always make jokes about it. Like, I live in a similar community now. I don't own a house, but like, I live in a similar community, and I make jokes about it when I'm out and about, being just like, if I see like a person of color exiting their home, and I'm like, oh wow, real neighborhood's really going to hell here. They just let anybody buy a house now. I know where that humor comes from, but like, it was upsetting to me, right? Like, it was upsetting. It wasn't my vehicle, right? Like, but it was upsetting to me because of how it was handled, because of how it wasn't taken seriously, because of, I know that there are people in this community that live on this block, that live on this street, that live nearby where this happened or whatever, that like could see that. I've seen, like, whatever, again, on this street, there's vehicles parked with Confederate flags on them. Like, that's a whole other thing. I think, whatever, I'll get into it. I'll just get into it. If you have a Confederate flag on your vehicle, and you want to be like, oh, it's not a racist thing, it's not about that, it's about the history of this and being proud of the, the same way someone could say, well, the swastika used to be a different symbol. It was taken by Hitler and he changed the meaning of it and whatever. Just like now the Canadian flag has a different meaning than it used to before the we were the fringe, freedom, like, yeah, that the Canadian flag has a different meaning too. And for a lot of people, it had a different meaning anyway because of colonization and whatever else. But the Confederate flag has a reputation. It has a very racist reputation. If you are okay with going out of your way to trying to defend that, it feels like you're complicit with the message and you don't care what people think about that. If you just want to get into an argument about it, but you can't argue that unless someone comes to you with it. So if they perceive your vehicle to be that of someone who is proudly and openly racist, you must be, because you don't care that you're being perceived that way either. If I went back to the roots of the swastika, and I should have done the research, and it's like some old Tibetan monk symbol of peace and love or something like that, okay, but that's not the meaning it has anymore in popular usage. Point is, it was upsetting to me as well. Even though I was not the target, the N-word is not targeted towards me. But even if that's all there was, and it wasn't the swastika as well, it's still upsetting to me. And it was upsetting, Rebecca seeing that post. It was upsetting to her too. But anyway, the thing goes back to like communities like this and just like these fake things. And it's like, part of me is just like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to live in my place and just, that's it. I think that it would be nice to have like a friendly neighbor. If it was a natural, that's the thing, unnatural community, I don't know what to call it. I'm trying to figure out the title of this video at the same time and I can't. But like, the subject of the video, the heart of it, is that like, that's an unnatural relationship. To be like, we're all in this community together, let's all be friends and look out for each other. No. You have racist people in this community. You have bigots. You have homophobic people. You have whatever. You have people are people, and just because you live in, that's the root of it, just because you live in close proximity to other people doesn't make it that you're friends. You don't have the same ideologies or values necessarily just because you live in the same community. There are different reasons why people live in this community, right? The thing is, again, it is overwhelmingly white and it seems very conservative, and you have to have a certain amount of financial freedom to live in this community. Unless, even then, like paying for a basement suite or something is going to be more expensive here than somewhere else in the city. So I feel like part of me is like always thought like, oh, it'd be really cool to have like a natural friendship with like a neighbor. You're looking out for each other. That would be cool. That's like a fun thing to have, and like that feels nice and more secure and whatever. That feels cool. But also part of me is just like, I don't want confrontation. I don't want to have to pretend to be nice either. What if I don't like this person and then I've got to like pretend my whole life that I live in a house that I'm like cool with my neighbor and I'm not. And it's like community, but that's the thing. Like this shows like just like, oh, we're in this community. This positive space and want to like help each other out. No, you don't. No, you don't. The thing is, I don't think the poster took that down. Because why would they put it up? Did they take it down because they're getting so much backlash? Do they not think that was going to happen? I'm assuming the community or the admins or whatever are the ones that took it down. Yet they didn't do anything about that other post about someone else's vehicle, and it happened to be a person of color who drove it, and it wasn't up to the standard of the community. So I don't know what else to say. I just think, living in proximity to one another doesn't make you friends. It doesn't make you on the same page. It doesn't mean anything. And I was already feeling this way before I had what happened with the dog thing. And it's, again, people in this community walk their dogs off leash more than I've seen in other communities because there's money involved and there's privilege involved. So you can do whatever you want, right? Of course.